Hi, Bridge. I'm Mariah, and this is my story of life change. Before I became a Christian, my life was just kind of chaotic all the time. Growing up, I grew up in a Christian household, but there was never really like a personal relationship. It was kind of just like you go to church on Sundays, you go to Sunday school, and then you live your life whatever you want to for the rest of the week. And as I grew older, I just kind of grew further and further away from God until I got to the point where I was just like, I don't know what happens when I die. Nobody knows if God is really real. So I'm just gonna live my life, do whatever I want, do whatever makes me feel good, makes me happy. Would party a lot. I, drank alcohol, substance abuse. I was in, a relationship that just was not honoring God and constantly seeking other people's approval and just searching all the wrong places to find something that would fill that empty feeling that I constantly had. And I was always left feeling worse off than I was before. And then I hit like a really dark point in my life around 19. And shortly after that, I was just driving home one day, just so depressed, just felt so disconnected from just everything. And I started thinking like, I really want to change. I really want to just do well in life and, just make good choices and really just progress. And a song on the radio came on that was just like completely mirrored what I was thinking about. I was like, it was to the point where I was like, that is just so weird. It was like a complete reflection just about growing and progressing and just not giving up and persevering. And I was like, oh wow, like that's so crazy, like that a song would do that. And I was just about to drop it. And then the woman on the radio was like, now wasn't that such a great song, Mariah? Mariah is going to school in the fall, and just started talking about like they had a little intern named Mariah. But in that moment, it really just didn't even feel real. I was like, is this really happening? Like, is this woman like speaking to me? But I knew immediately that it was God. I was just like, God, I tried to live life my way, and it has just not gone well at all. And I'm just ready. I'll live for you. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. It was about 2 years of just me, God, and my Bible, just figuring out what my faith meant to me, what God meant to me just personally. I didn't have anyone in my life at the time who was walking with God very strongly in their faith, who I would have trusted to lead me in the right direction. It was really lonely at some points, but at the same time, it's just still astounding to me how much God is able to work even with nothing. So he just really spent those 2 years just filtering out all of these false beliefs, preconceived ideas that I had about religion, about faith, about what I should and shouldn't do. And he just filtered all of that out and just laid out that really solid foundation of this is what the gospel is, this is who Jesus is, and this is who you are in relation to me. It was a really powerful 2 years that I really wouldn't trade for anything, but it was also a very lonely time of just figuring things out and being really confused at points and still struggling with a lot of the things that I struggled with prior to being a Christian, which when you first become a Christian, you feel like on cloud nine and like you're never gonna sin again and like everything's gonna be fine and perfect and happy, and that quickly was diminished. And so just trying to work through all of those things, like learning about sin and learning about, what that does to your relationship with God and you just as a person. And then after that, I started coming to the Bridge, and I started coming by myself, which was very, very scary, but I knew that it was what God wanted me to do. I knew that it was, Christians aren't meant to be alone, we're meant to be in community. And so even though I was terrified every single week, I was the type that would run in and out, 15 minutes after service starts and then just zoom out as soon as the service was over. But I kept on coming week after week because I was like, this is where I need to be. Everybody here is just so genuine and loving. And once I started to come to the Bridge, I decided to join a small group with Joanna, who's the small group pastor. She's been very helpful. So I did the Foundations of Christianity group, which was so huge in my just learning that basic foundation from a more like teacher standpoint. And so after that, I joined a life group, and I would say that's where a lot of the healing came from, because like I said, after you become a Christian, you still have the same problems that you had before you were a Christian. And while I was alone, I really didn't know how to work through those things. So there were certain sins, there were certain just habits that I had that I really just couldn't shake. Being in a life group and having a group of people who you can be completely vulnerable with and confess to and just talk about your highs and your lows. I mean, was just so life-changing for me, because for a period I was in a relationship that did not honor God after I became a Christian, and it was like this constant battle of my emotions and then like just what I knew God wanted me to do and what I knew was good for me. And being in life group, I would come every single week, and whenever it was my turn to share, I had to come and confess and talk about things that I really didn't want to talk about, that I felt shame for, that I just felt really, really bad about. But I think it was knowing that I could come to these people and receiving that grace and that mercy and that love, and knowing that God wasn't disqualifying me just because of the things that I was going through was so huge. And praise God, I'm freed of all of the most of the things that I really struggled with, well, most of the big things. And I really think that it was because of getting into a life group, getting vulnerable, doing things that scared me, because I knew that it was what God was calling me to do, and not letting that fear keep me from continuously pursuing God. Another huge thing about God is just that He's always there, and He's never worried or disappointed or upset with us. Like that was a really huge thing for me in the beginning. I was always afraid that God would be mad at me if I messed up, and that I always had to be perfect. And throughout my whole journey, especially after joining a life group, I realized that that just isn't the case, and God just wants the best for me, and He's always here for me. And He really, all He wants is my heart. At the end of the day, I could be stuck in the same problem for the rest of my life, and His opinion on me would never change. His love for me would never change. And just getting to always fall back on that has just been so huge in my relationship with Him, because it's just not based on my performance. I never have to fake it with Him. I can let Him know if I'm mad at Him, or if I'm upset, or if I'm confused, and He's never gonna say, well, say why, like try to make me feel bad about it. He is just so understanding and patient and accepting and loving. And that it's okay to be messy. It's okay that you're a mess, that you don't have to make yourself perfect before you decide to accept Jesus into your life. Jesus wants us in our messes. It's crazy when I think about how my life was before and how empty I always felt, and just constantly chasing after things that the world said would make me happy, and it never delivering. But with God, He always delivers.